This video is on factoring differences of squares. Another type of special polynomial is called a difference of squares. This means that it is one perfect square minus another perfect square. So for example, 9x squared minus 16 is a difference of squares because it's the quantity 3x squared minus the number 4 squared. So 9x squared is a perfect square because it's 3x times 3x. 16 is a perfect square because it's 4 times 4, and it's a subtraction in the middle. A difference of squares can be factored into two binomials. The two binomials are the square root of the first term plus the square root of the second term, and the second one is the square root of the first term minus the square root of the second term. So 9x squared minus 16 factors into 3x plus 4 and 3x minus 4. Because the square root of 9x squared is 3x, the square root of 16 is 4, one's a plus, one's a minus. Let's just make sure and check and work backwards. So 3x plus 4 times 3x minus 4, 3x times 3x gives me 9x squared. 3x times negative 4 gives me negative 12x. 4 times 3x gives me a positive 12x, and 4 times negative 4 gives me a negative 16. When I combine like terms, negative 12x plus 12x gives me a 0. So I'm left with 9x squared minus 16. So it does indeed work. Let's take a look at a couple examples. It says factor each difference of squares. So for the first one, I have x squared minus 121. This is indeed a difference of squares because I know that the square root of x squared is x and the square root of 121 is 11. So this is going to factor into x plus 11 and x minus 11. And it doesn't matter which order you write the binomials. I could have put x minus 11 first and then x plus 11 second. And my second example here is 3x squared minus 12. Okay, so this is two terms and I'm subtracting them, but 3 is not a perfect square, nor is 12. But what I do notice is that I have a greatest common factor of 3. So I can actually factor a 3 out of 3x squared, giving me x squared, factor a 3 out of negative 12, giving me negative 4. And now my expression in the parentheses is a difference of squares because x squared is a perfect square, 4 is a perfect square, so this will factor into 3 times. The square root of x squared is x, square root of 4 is 2, so it's going to be an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. So in this video we took a look at how to recognize and factor differences of squares. So it's a perfect square minus another perfect square, and it will factor into the square root of the first term plus the square root of the second term, square root of the first term minus the square root of the second term.